And here is Don.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. All right, I'm just conscious we're at the end of the day. It's the afternoon, so we're going to try and do a very quick fire. My presentation today is a very lightweight type presentation. It's nice, it's brain candy, but it does have an important message in it. And that important message is about test automation, and one of the biggest blockers that most teams out there get wrong, and it's what's stopping your automation from being successful. Now, I'm going to tell this story today about a naked emperor. Is there a naked emperor in your development team? It's a story that's 1,000 years old. It's been done in 100 different languages. Today, you're going to get a very short, very Aussie sort of version of that, which is how I like things. And we'll fire through that. And as I'm doing that, put your thinking caps on and just think, what is this guy talking about? How the hell is this relating to test automation? But see if you can piece it together, because I'll give you the answer at the end. Right, so before I kick off, I really want to thank the sponsors of the day. It's such a good day connecting with people, so many familiar faces in the audience. I hope you're all enjoying DDD. Make sure you thank the organisers. They volunteer and they spend a lot of time putting this thing together each year. And I'm proud to represent Planit. If you haven't seen us on the coffee cart, we're just around in the centre of the auditorium, and it's I'd love to offer you a t-shirt, but they went in like an hour, hundreds and hundreds of t-shirts, but we can offer you a coffee. Right, into the story. The story's about an emperor. So this emperor is a vain bloke. He's very fixated on his looks. He thinks he's a good-looking rooster, but he always wants to look better than everyone else. Out in his empire, he's got these two great creators, or we'll call them developers, to give you a clue. And these guys are really good at making things. In fact, they're so good at making things, back in those days, they thought they were magicians. The emperor gets word of these guys and he says, look, brings them into his throne room, and he says, I want you to make me the most magnificent outfit ever made. Whatever I want to do, wherever I want to be, it needs to be a magical outfit that makes me look magnificent 24 hours a day. And these guys are like, they get locked away in a room, and they're thinking, okay, that's an interesting challenge we've got here. So they set about doing what they know. They build things. They set up machinery, they set up equipment, and they've got this continuous delivery fashion line which they're sort of creating. One small problem though, as they're locked away in this little dungeon area, we don't have any fabric to work with. What are we meant to do? And the emperor says, well, you guys are so talented, you're so good at making things, you're practically magicians, I'm sure you'll work it out. And they're a bit puzzled, they're stressing, right? Because these guys are going to get their heads lopped off by this bloke when they show up with nothing. But they know he's equally vain and equally stupid, so they come up with an idea, because these are the smart guys in the story. 2 days pass, the emperor brings them in and says, right, I've given you this challenge, show me what you've made for me, show me this magnificent outfit. They roll in a rack full of coat hangers with absolutely nothing on it. And they tell him, don't worry about it, we've built you this amazing outfit that's so spectacular, it's actually magical. Only people that are loyal to the empire can see the clothes, right? It's sort of magical clothes. And the emperor's like, okay, yeah, I can see them now. Yeah, they look spectacular, right? Because he doesn't want to be disloyal to his own empire. The guys aren't stupid though. I think, right, the moment the emperor goes out of here, someone's going to tell him he's wearing nothing if he puts these things on, which is nothing, and we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So they tell him, why don't you go out in the town tomorrow, do a parade down the main street, and anyone that says anything, lop the heads off, because they're not loyal to the empire. Emperor's right, cool, I got this. Next day, puts on the gear, goes out down the main street, thinking he's looking pretty good. He's all smiles and giggles. There's a few people in the crowd, as you can imagine, sort of a bit of murmuring, like, what is this guy doing? What's this idiot doing? He's wearing no clothes. You and I know he's completely starkers, right? He's wearing these magnificent clothes of absolutely nothing. No one says anything though, because no one wants to get their head lopped off. Except for one guy, this guy. And in the story, this guy is me. And the reason is, this is the guy that doesn't care about all that stuff. He just calls out what he sees and he's going to tell it like it is. And he says, hang on, what's the emperor doing with no clothes? Come on, mate, no one wants to see that. Get some bloody clothes on. And at that moment, the emperor realises he's been made to look like a complete fool. These guys have really set him up for failure, and it's actually bloody embarrassing because he has nothing on. Cool story. What the hell's this got to do with test automation? Don't worry, I can see your faces. There's sort of like lots of furrowed brows out there. We'll get to it. So what's it got to do with test automation? Well, similar, if I look around the room here, we've got lots of great developers, right, in the community. We're really good at making things, creating things, but we're not magicians. Occasionally, you get an emperor who will say, look, with test automation, can you guys just go set that thing up? I want some magical automated tests, please. I want them to run 24 hours a day, CI, CD, CX, CZ, whatever. They could ask for anything. And by the way, it should make my coffee as well. So they expect the impossible from the developers. Developers will do what they do. They'll go and get the latest frameworks and toolkits. They'll set it all up. They'll build the pipe. You've got the nice pipeline running. Beautiful. One problem. If you don't have fabric, what are you making? You're making nothing. It's similar to the story. Without the fabric, you've got a lot of machinery, a lot of time and expense put in, and you're making nothing. So what's the fabric? When you're building test automation, what is that? Well, it's in the word test, right? It's in the name. Without good tests, you've got nothing. So if you think about fabric, good thread count, right colour, right texture, durable, wearable, good quality characteristics. It's the same as your tests. Good tests are carefully crafted and targeted. They take a lot of thought to get the right tests, and they typically come from the mind of a tester. They need to be really well made. Great fabric, great garments. Great tests, great test automation. But how do you get the fabric? Well, fabric makers make fabric, and testers make tests. Okay? Testers are a special breed. And these days we are told, oh, but we're all cross-functional, we're all unicorns, right? So we're all full-stack devs, we all code like demons. I could run the agile rituals better than that seasoned Scrum Master, and I know more about product ownership than the product owner. And of course, we're all legendary testers, right? No, not so much. That's not reality. That's the textbook. The reality is we all specialise. Those different roles are fundamentally different in terms of how you think, in terms of your career progression, the study, and the time you've put into them. So I'll put it to you another way. Every tester out there has dabbled a little bit in coding, and there's a very small number of testers who are so good at coding, I'd say they're probably as good as developers. But I wouldn't then go out and say, hey, testers, you've all dabbled in coding, you're all now developers, go start writing our enterprise systems. You wouldn't do that. That would be ridiculous. So the reverse is also true. When the emperors ask developers and they say, look, you guys are amazing at coding, you should all be involved in testing, all good developers are, but we don't expect you to be professional testers because that's a different career path. It's different skills and it's a whole different background to life. So professional testers, if you've ever worked with one, they're a different breed. They think differently. They are magnets for errors. A normal person, careful, choose my words. I'm a tester, right? So I'll go with that. They might think of five things that could go wrong. A tester will tell you 101 things that will go wrong. They're fixated on breaking things, not making things. It's a completely different mindset. In an interview, I can tell you within 2 or 3 questions whether someone's a developer or a tester by how they answer those questions. Whatever they think they might be, it's quite evident. Brains work differently. They've also spent years training in their profession, learning skills, techniques, getting certifications in testing, specifically for testing, to create that great fabric or tests. It's a point that emperors often miss. Now, remember the guy in the story? Well, in the world of test automation, that's me. I'm not a developer, but I do get the privilege of working with development teams right across Perth. And they open their doors and we see the automation that's being produced. And while some shops are doing an incredible job, they're creating great automation. And it's a beautiful thing when you see it. I'd say the majority, or many of them, have emperors in the establishment who are spending a lot of money and expense putting together toolkits, spending a lot of time building stuff that amounts to a whole lot of nothing, if I'm being frank, because they don't have the fabric. So, what are the 2 lessons, 2 takeaways from today? How to spot a naked emperor and how to avoid being one yourself. Like, don't be that guy that asks people to do the impossible. Well, firstly, professional testers make the great tests, and that's where you get your great test automation. It's a key ingredient that's often missing, and that's the point of the talk. So if you want to spot a naked emperor, it's someone that's asking developers to do things with no fabric. And the second thing is, if you're working in an environment where you're not getting that great fabric, don't be afraid to be that guy that just calls it out. Because without that, people are going to continue murmuring in the crowd and nodding and pretending like, yeah, we're doing great with automation. We've got 5,000 tests done, and it's a whole lot of nothing. What that does is it leaves you exposed, and that is bloody embarrassing. So if you're looking to make software better, two tips from today. I hope you remember them, and I'm happy to have discussions afterwards. But hopefully that's been lightweight and entertaining as I promised. Thank you very much for coming along. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Brendan. That is the last of our talks. Yeah, what a good one to finish on.